you've got there is the statue of a dog. It's a pointer dog, hunting dog, called Stanch. Building's boarded up. The hunting dog, the Stanch dog, it was the trademark of a company called J and Riley Car Limited, who were based here until the 1950s.
My name's Jules Gray and I'm sort of director of Sheffield Beer Week. And yeah, so it kicks off today, Monday the 13th of March. And it's officially a 7-day sort of citywide celebration of beer that goes on across multiple venues through the week, but it's kind of unofficially, it's turned into about 10 days now, so it kind of unofficially started last Friday. But it involves anything beer related, local breweries doing showcases, tap takeovers, breweries from outside of Sheffield, obviously partnering with pubs and venues in Sheffield, so things like Beavertown Brewery from London are coming up to do a tap takeover and meet the brewer at Hallamshire House. We've had a Belgian brewery do a beer tasting, so it's quite an international lineup this year, which is fantastic. And obviously here tonight on this Heritage Walk, so it's great to come round a number of Sheffield pubs really and hear the stories, how long they've been around, and find out the heritage, you know, that you sometimes miss walking down the street really. If you just kind of take a look up and look at old signage and stuff, you kind of discover more about the city that you live in really, which I think's fantastic.
Red Deer, quite important in the development of Camera in Sheffield. We used to have a lot of the early meetings here in the 1970s.
My name's Dave Pickersgill. We're in Grapes Hotel on Triplet Lane in Sheffield. We started in Fagan's late 18th century ex-Tetley pub. We've now walked up to Triplet Lane and popped in the Grapes for a touch of liquid refreshment to have a look at probably the best surviving example of a pub from Sheffield brewer's Thomas Rawson. Thomas Rawson was unfortunately destroyed in 1940. The remaining pubs were taken over by Gilmore's Windsor Breweries, subsequently Tetley's, and on from there. If you look back at pub design from certainly mid-19th century to certainly the 1950s, possibly the 1960s, virtually any new pub or addition, alteration of a pub would have an off-sales section, usually called off-sales, not always. But you look at the Rutland Arms in Brown Street in town, go to the right-hand side of that pub, there's a window marked off sales, just to the right of it, there's another window, the tiles are different, that's where the door was for the off sales. Same at the Leicester in Sharrow, down the side of the pub, there's two doors virtually next to each other, and you think, why two doors? One of them was the off sales. So you go into the off sales, you get out the cold and the rain, but you couldn't get into the rest of the pub. The one at the Leicester is, again, if you look in the archives, on the plans it's labelled as a children's entrance.
Originally the home of a company called W.E. Harrison, as it says, Steeplejack of Nelson Column fame. Steeplejack, established in 1854, Sheffield Tidy's company of Steeplejacks. But the claim to fame is that T.D. Harrison was the first man to climb Nelson's Column in 1896.
My name is Kevin, and I'm from New Mexico in the U.S. Really caught my eye for Beer Week to come on this Heritage Pub Tour. Dave Pickersgill did a really nice job of taking us around and explaining what pubs used to be and what they've become. I find the history of a place to be really fascinating. I'm early in my visit to Sheffield, so this is a great way to start that visit to kind of learn some of the backstory. I came in, and after walking around today, I had a lot of questions, and some of the things that he told us it created even more questions, but he did a good job of answering. So, for instance, were pubs generally historically owned by small business people? The answer I learned, and it was fascinating, was, well, no. Usually they were a way to get beer sold by the breweries to the people, and operated a lot of different ways. So I know 1,000% more about that now than I did coming to town here. The Beer Week folks have organized all kinds of very interesting things. There's a pub crawl one night. One night we're going up to Thornbridge for a dinner and a tour up there. So it's going to be an action-packed week. I really enjoy the beers. I'm really kind of learning about these hand-pumped cask ales as opposed to the gassed beers, whether it be CO2 or some of them, I guess, use nitrogen. So that's been kind of an interesting thing. In the U.S., there's a very big craft beer movement going on, and they similarly are doing all kinds of things, often much more experimental. But I like the traditional styles, and I love to see that here there's a lot of respect for the traditional styles of beers and ales.
I think it's just the realisation, it's many pubs or, great places selling beer kind of work as a community together. Because, like we just have tonight, you go on a trail, don't you, from one to the next, and, obviously you spend longer than we have normally. It's a good few hours maybe trying the different beers, but you visit a place because there's probably more than one pub, really. I mean, I think Sheffield's there's some very good things, I think, that foster lots of creativity, and I see brewing as one of those creative arms. So, that's why there's a really good music scene, an art scene and a brewing scene here, because there's community, because there's support of independence. I think because there's a real interest from kind of people that live in the city that really value creativity and whatever output that is, whether it's brewing, art or music. I think it's really fostered.
Bath Hotel, it's one of only 3 pubs in Sheffield that are on the Cameron National Inventory of Pub Interiors, completely remodelled by Inca Breweries in the 1930. The footprint of the pub, the room layouts, the windows, the tile work, the woodwork, it's hardly changed since then. It's actually a national icon. It's the sort of building that if it was in York, you'd have to pay £5 to go in. It's totally unchanged since 1931. Same layout, same windows in the same place. It's probably even got the same tiles on the floor in the back bar. It was statutory listed in 1999. It won in 2001 the National Pub Conservation Award, English Heritage Victorian Society in Canberra. It's been cleaned up. It's absolutely brilliant. This is, 1931 pub design at its best. That's all you can say, really. It's one of 3 pubs in the Cameron National Inventory that are in Sheffield. It's one of only 9 pubs in Sheffield that have got ACV status, Asset Community Value. And I'll just throw this one at you. Hot off the presses, probably hasn't been announced by the council yet. We were told in a meeting this afternoon that the 9th pub in Sheffield has now got ACV status. So the University Arms is now ACV.